It has been another busy week for the dynamics between Anthropic and OpenAI and the Department of Defense. And on a different note, we have also published a lot of new reporting this week about OpenAI's shopping and advertising ambitions. To unpack it all on this week's edition of The Editor's Cut, I want to bring on our co executive editor, Martin Peers, and our managing editor, Laura Mandaro. Martin and Laura, welcome to you both. It's great to have you here.
Hey,
Hi.
Carl.
Okay, exciting. Friday. Let's do it. Martin, I want to start with you. What did you make of Dario's statement last night?
I thought it was a very even-keeled um, statement. I would like to say it was predictable that he would apologize because I had predicted it. Um, and he did apologize for the tone of his memo, which we had scooped, where he'd called, I think he'd made some comment about having to make dictator-style praise to Trump. Um, So I thought it was a good statement. He comes across as he really takes apart the issue, and he really comes across as smart and getting into the details. Unfortunately, he's dealing with a administration which tends to sort of yell about things, and I don't think they're really operating on the same wavelength. But I think he looks smart, as I said.
And so he got a little bit into sort of the details of what it means to be a supply chain risk, what the definition is, what it sort of limits to. But I mean, as far as we understand, Martin, I mean, just help us understand how existential a risk this designation could be for the companies that Anthropics works with. I mean, how broad could this be?
Well, it could have been very broad because the original statement that the government had made indicated that Anthropic wouldn't be able to work with anybody, and it almost made it seem like they might, go out of bu- business. But um, Microsoft said last night that they had looked at the um, the statement the government has actually issued, and it's not as broad, and it really only affects Anthropic's ability to work with companies as it regards the Defense Department. So it probably won't be such a big deal.
Laura, what's the reaction been across Silicon Valley from your end?
Well, this has been sort of a riveting series of events, and in a way that I don't think, you know, politics sort of tends to national politics or geopolitics tends to rise up and fade as a cause of concern, and people can be a lot more excited about a new product release or um, you know uh, some CEO moving or top researcher even moving from company to company. And this is one of the times when national politics is really punctured that flow of news. I mean, I think that um, we had a very nice deal maker column from Valita, our investment banking reporter last night. I think this is all happening against the context of a very fierce battle between these two companies for sort of business supremacy, for lack of a better word. OpenAI is older, of course. It's far bigger. If they raise this entire 110 billion that they're in the middle of raising, will have raised far more money. But Anthropic, as our reporter Shri reported this week, and others have reported, is really catching up very quickly in terms of revenue, and that's in part because their Claude Code agent has been very, very successful. They just released it last year, and even before that, the underlying models, the API that was helping other coding agents grow was. Sort of off the charts and the most popular. So I think that while people have sort of philosophical views about how these companies are dealing with the Pentagon, there's also and very much so, of course, from the investors, this conversation about, okay, who's going to be the sort of stronger financial company, and
Right,
who goes public first.
right. But
And can I just jump in there on that point? That's a very important point, which is if you're looking at the IPOs of these companies, this issue that Anthropic faces is not going to help them if they're trying to go public. No one wants to invest in a company which is being attacked by the government. So Anthropic probably wants to get this resolved before they go public.
Laura, one of the things that struck me from the column last night that Valita wrote was at the Morgan Stanley Tech Conference, there seemed to be sort of a differing perspectives around just the way that Sam Altman is managing his company and the way that Dario has managed his company. I mean, they're sort of two different playbooks.
I mean, they would also like you to think that very much, right? I mean, Dario talks a lot about culture and the mission, and that's the whole, premise of Anthropic. I mean, he left OpenAI and his sister and some others over apparent disagreements about OpenAI's direction, and notably, we have not been able to break much from within inside the company in terms of how the company talks to its employees. And
Except for the other night.
yes, and that's what made that
Well, when we
remarkable.
broke literally a string of stories one by one, you couldn't go to sleep. They just kept coming.
Well, but I mean, the memo, or I think Anthropic would just say this is a Slack. It wasn't even a memo. It was unusual for us and other reporters to break that. Whereas other companies, there's a lot of news that we and others have broken about Meta, for instance, and OpenAI. OpenAI declares a code red. We have broken that news. So I think that somewhat speaks to the culture. That it's very tight. People are kind of aligned. In terms of what they're doing with Anthropic. It's very hard for companies to sustain that. I would say so. I mean, it's only what, a 5-year-old company, but so far it's you know they seem to be kind of one tribe of like-minded researchers.
Laura is revealing the secret of journalism. We thrive on companies where there's a lot of dissension and unhappiness and people willing to sort of leak stuff. And we really do not like it when companies are all happy families. That doesn't really work for us.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that this is kind of speaks to the what's at stake here for Anthropic. I think what Martin's getting to in terms of the contract may not be that big, right? I mean, even the entire Pentagon contract of 200 million is just not that big. If for a company that's on
Doing
track to.
19 billion in
Yeah,
annual.
exactly. So could they lose the Pentagon contract without making a big dent? Yes. And I think there are other vulnerabilities to that. I mean, maybe this work with the government opens the door to other big corporate customers because it gives a sense of, significance, a sort of a halo effect. You are an established corporate IT vendor if you have this. That's I'm not I'm curious about that more than
Right.
anything. But on the other hand, if Dario does something that seems to be very hypocritical in terms of this mission that he's been able to attract so many top-notch researchers to, does he lose that? And as we and others have reported, it's really a war for talent still with
Right,
these
right.
AI companies.
Martin, okay, so very quickly, I mean, Dario said in his statement, he said, "We really have no choice but to challenge this in court." So, how do you think this ultimately plays out over the next couple months?
Well, I have seen commentary from people who understand the law suggesting that the government does not have a very strong case. So I think this will be like many of the things that Trump has done, where the courts will block him. So that's my expectation. This will sort of just get stuck in some sort of long court battle.
Okay, and very quickly, Martin, we had this string of stories this week on OpenAI's revised ambitions now in shopping and in ad tech too. Shopping was really the thing that I think took me by surprise. I think because they'd really painted this very broad vision of everything that will happen inside the platform, and now they're saying, maybe not. So, like,
Okay.
what does
And it
this
makes
reflect?
you wonder, why did they not figure this out before they announced it? And is a
Well, because
mystery.
they were busy doing coding and GitHub and social
I mean,
media
it
and
takes how long would it have taken to make a couple of phone calls and say, "Hey, dude, how hard is it to do this thing in the chat? What? It's hard? Oh, let's forget.
Pretty hard, actually.
Well, I mean, t
Oh, Laura's going to defend Sam
Okay,
Altman.
okay, let's hear.
Oh, no, it's okay. It's a good
No,
story.
no, no. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
well, I mean, this actually may support your case, but it's been very hard to do, social media shopping. As, I think there was some meme about,
As
like,
we've written, all
the
they had to do was
Google,
read all our stories.
Instagram.
All they had to do, in fact, we should explain to the OpenAI people, get a subscription to the information and read the background. Then they won't announce things that don't work.
I think we need more reporting to know why this, and I do think maybe it is unusual to pull the plug on something so soon, but we reported back last fall that after Gemini's latest release was so fantastic, uh, OpenAI said, "Okay, we got to like narrow our scope, and we're gonna trim some of the side projects. It's a code red. We're gonna really focus on the model." I suspect
So
this may be
maybe
a
this is all
casualty.
about that. This is a code red. They have pulled back.
Yeah,
But it's just,
yeah.
but they can't call it a code red anymore because then, well,
Well, the
then,
code red makes you not do everything, right? They were doing everything. They've
yeah,
somewhat narrowed, perhaps. I don't know if we totally know that they're linked, but it would be logical.
yeah. Although, as we know from Pinterest, I mean, you can call multiple code reds, and you can call code reds in many different departments. So,
Sure.
okay. Well, look, I want to thank you both for coming on. It was a busy week, and I anticipate next week will be even busier. That is Martin Pierce, our co-executive editor, and Laura Mandaro, our managing editor here at The Information.